West Tigers podcast. It's episode number 338 on a Sunday night. It's going to be a party edition of the podcast after the West Tigers thump the Canberra Raiders 48-24 at Campbelltown. Declan, there's more late changes to this podcast than there is the West Tigers team every week. I mean, Joel usually hosts on a Sunday night, but he is crook, so that's a fair excuse. And Steve is out to dinner with his brother, I believe, after being at the game this afternoon. So I suppose that's a fair excuse as well. And you were penciled in potentially as the interim host, but I just wasn't sure if you deserved that. You know, I don't know if you've done the hard yards of all the losses I did on Sunday night. So I thought I'd better jump on and host tonight, given we won.
That's interesting because I heard a rumor that you'd had a few too many vodka Red Bulls, and like that's why I was on standby to be the host. But clearly that's wrong. So thanks for the opportunity, though.
It is my go-to drink, vodka Red Bulls, but we'll see if we can get through this next hour. Gary, before I ask you your one word, how was it out there at Campbelltown today during and after the game? Was it joyous? Because boy, oh boy, I can't remember the last time I've been out there seeing us win.
Yeah, well, what was it, up to 10 losses in a row, or was it going to be 10? Something like that anyway. So the crowd wasn't huge out there today, but I thought it was quite loud during parts of the game. And the Dewey chant that went up, and I'm sure I'm going to cop a little bit of a ribbing over Dewey. I've already seen a few things online, but that Dewey chant went up. That really rocked around the venue. So, I think everyone who got out to the game really enjoyed it.
One word, Declan.
My one word, well, I have two words. I think that my first word for the entire game was just effort. Like, I thought, particularly the kick chase in the first half was just exceptional. I think every single kick, you could see at least 2 or 3 West Tigers players sprinting to put pressure on Rapana. Like, they really did put pressure on like the kick chase, and I think that made a huge difference in the first half. Like, a lot of almost tries came from that, and then there was like the defense was like lots of effort. You could tell the line speed was great. The Raiders didn't really manage to get much offloads in the first half, which was great because that's kind of how you would expect them to get back into the game. And it was just a great performance, lots of effort. It was really reminiscent of the Sharks game where, you know, we didn't beat ourselves, we didn't do anything silly, and it was just great to see. And my second one is heart palpitation because, oh my God, that 10 minutes before when Alex Seyfarth got sent to the bin, that was too much.
There wouldn't be fans, Declan, in the history of the world supporting any professional club that would be nervous up 42-8. But I'm pretty sure most West Tigers fans were nervous when Seyfarth got sin bin.
Yeah, I think we can all disagree that like all of us were probably fearing the worst. I just don't think I've seen 3 tries that quickly conceded. Like, I just feel like we never really even touched the ball for the first 6 minutes he was in the sin bin. It just, everything just went to hell. But, you know, we managed to not lose that, and thank God, because I don't think any of us would have been on the pod tonight if we did. So
I did say, I think in the chat, Gary, something along the lines of, you know, the podcast would disband and we'll never be on again if we had lost that game. So thank God we didn't. Your one word.
Yeah, I'm going to go for youth. I think it looked a couple of weeks ago that effort bubble for our club, and we spoke about it, had burst for this team for the season. And I think the injection of youth over the last couple of weeks has brought a bit of enthusiasm back into the squad, and I think that's probably reinvigorated those effort areas, because the effort areas, as Declan was saying, were fantastic today. And I'm going to give the youth and the future of our club a bit of a rap for the way they've come into the side and have shown they are the future of our club.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, when like you go into the Titans game backs against the wall, you know, like you could be forgiven for the coaching staff being a little bit conservative, but they have backed the youth, and it's really added another level of energy in this midway point of the season. You know, during Origin, where, you know, you could be like some teams, you know, it's kind of just that period where you just kind of have to like get by it as best you can. But these young players have really added another dimension of energy to us. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this is the best we've played at Campbelltown in quite some time. But you just look at the juniors that came to that West Magpies team who won the grand final in the Howard Mats a few years ago. Those guys are all from the area. And you could tell that really galvanized the team, and there was a lot of energy. And I don't think that's a coincidence. We've finally broken that 10-game losing streak there.
It's a good segue, Declan, because that was my one word, Campbelltown. It's sort of so important to finally get a win there for not only those young players that grew up there, but for the fans, for the future of the club out there, because it had been depressing going out there and seeing them get pumped every week. So I just thought that was a really important win in the context of a season that it might not mean much at the end of the year. I'm sure it will if we end up, 16th or 15th rather than 17th. But I thought we might look back on that win as an important win in the future. Gary, what was the most pleasing thing or the biggest difference from the win over the Titans 7 or 8 days ago compared to this one?
The win we saw against the Titans was a game that the Titans lost. It was a game where we weren't great on the day. The Titans were worse, and that's why we won that game. The most pleasing point for me today was we won that game today, and I know there was a comeback, and I know the Raiders weren't great today, but the West Tigers played really strong football today. Really good attacking football, which we haven't seen from this side. So for me, the big positive that came out of today compared to last week is we played good football, entertaining football, and it was good to watch.
Yeah, the effort was definitely there this week, as it was with the Titans game. But this was probably the best shape I think I've seen the team run for like a very, very long time. I think on that left side, this was the first time that we were on their red zone, and I genuinely thought that we were going to score. It was that Adam Dewey no try that Rapana managed to, miraculously hold up. But that entire set, I was like, we're going to score here because we're just moving the ball so well. And you've got Galvin, Fainu, Dewey, and I think it was and Patapi. Like, that's a pretty good edge, and we finally looked dangerous spreading the ball in the red zone. But that was the best I've seen our red zone attack in like a really long time, which was good to see.
Declan, is that just personnel? Because like we've been frustrated as hell watching us attack this year, but like you could sense that first 20 minutes we looked like scoring every set, or we looked like busting them every set. I know the Raiders were potentially a little bit off, but like Gary said, you've got to give credit to us. What do you think was the main difference in the attack? Is it just the return of some players or some youth?
Yeah, I think it was just the personnel, the return of players. Because when you've got Samuel Efinu and Adam Dewey, both these guys are 100 plus kilos who can run like pretty quick lines. That's bound to attract some space. And then you've got Lachlan Galvin as well, who's a pretty big guy. So when you've got size like that in agility, you can't just like put numbers on one of them. You have to kind of tackle them more one-on-one, and that therefore creates more space. And I think that's why we looked really, really good, because people actually had to commit to lead runners, and they actually had to commit to Samuel Efinu, who just had probably his best game of first grade. And I just think it shows that we had some talent there, and that really made a world of a difference.
It's pretty remarkable, Gary. I don't know if I got the stats exactly right, but I think there were 4 guys today that were either 19 or younger playing. 6 players from that premiership winning side in the Harold Matthews. 2 weeks ago it was all doom and gloom. Is this pointing towards a bright future for the club, or is it going to be a little bit like that Cowboys win last year where everyone looked like a world beater and then you get knocked back down again?
Look, I think we do have to be careful. With the West Tigers, there's been a lot of false dawns where we've gone out, put on a really good performance, and then not been able to back it up. And the potential is definitely there when you have a bunch of young guys in your squad like we do now. I've heard a number of people say that it's the youngest NRL team to ever be fielded. So when you have a lot of youth in your side, that consistency can be really difficult. And getting that, what we saw today, week in, week out, can be difficult. I hope it's the start of turning it around, but you're not going to know for a little while yet whether it is that. But as West Tigers fans, like, we've won 4 games a year for the past 2 years. This is our 4th win this year. We don't get too many wins, so let's celebrate this win and worry about whether it's turning the corner a couple of weeks down the track.
Yep, we certainly have been celebrating this win, Gary, over the past few hours. So, Declan,
Lee or you?
Oh, everyone's been celebrating the win. Steve's out celebrating the win. Yeah, I did as well. The youth, you mentioned the youth. Who do you think? Do you think, Benji, it's a big decision because you've got guys like, I think Clemmer's back available next week. Papali'i will be at some point, and so will John Bateman. And obviously good NRL first graders, and they would usually be walk-up starters. But I know we haven't beaten world beaters in the Gold Coast and Canberra Raiders, who are a bit out of form at the moment. But does that give Benji a bit of food for thought, given the enthusiasm these young blokes have brought to the side and the quality?
I think Pole, who's not as young as some of the other guys, I think his efforts in the front row today probably do put a bit of pressure on Clemmer coming back. Whether he walks straight back into the starting side or and Sione Fainu as well, I thought was really strong today. That was a really nice try he scored, and definitely in the second row. I can't see how you can put Sam Fainu back to the bench. He's just dominating games out on that left edge, and for a guy that not many people knew a lot about, Ruben Porter has come in and done a really good job as well. So those back rowers are putting pressure on those guys who come back from when they come back from injury. Look, most of them are out for, like Papali and Bateman are out for a fair bit of time. So we've got time to kind of assess where we're at with that. But I don't think Clemmer comes straight back into that starting side. Paul was great today, and I thought Steph had another really strong game today.
It's got to be a good thing for the club, Declan, because I don't know. I don't want to be harsh on some of those older guys because they've been putting in as much as anyone. But I just think it's going to be a good thing looking at, a performance like that with that energy and quality and saying, maybe you guys have got to lift your game a little bit. Do you think Benji he might not say that to him, but do you think they'd be thinking that on the sideline?
Well, I actually think that Benji Marshall did say it, and it was either Benji or Appy in a press conference, I think after the Titans game, where he said that, young players, they bring energy, and they lifted the energy in the training sessions. And, I think that's kind of just what you're saying. Like, these young guys have kind of pushed the older guys. And, yeah, like, surely, like, now we actually, I wouldn't say we have that genuine competition for spots now because we are, like, decimated by injuries. But it definitely is, like, a consideration. Like, I think Lyle Lurley, I'm not sure I'd be too keen to play him against the Roosters next week, but I'd love to see him get some game time to end the season because you just look like an absolute gem out there for someone who just turned 18 years old. So yeah, it's got to like raise the standards hopefully, which leads to more competitive games and more wins. Hopefully, got it out there.
Debutant today, Luke Lulili on the wing, Declan. Apparently he's only just turned 18, I think, this week. So is he not allowed to play in the NRL as a 17-year-old? Like Benji seemed to be referring to that a little bit in the press conference.
Yeah, you need an exemption from the NRL to play. So yeah, like that's the rule. Like obviously back in the day it was a little bit more common, but I think now they said, yeah, you have to wait till you turn 18. But he was exceptional, honestly. I saw him last week against the Warriors, and like although I thought he played quite well, just that big New South Wales Cup Warriors team, I was a little bit like he just didn't excel. Like the entire team didn't excel. So obviously, he's a really talented player, and I was a little bit worried for him to come into this game because Charlie Staines pulled it injured early, but he was just exceptional, and he's just going to be someone another off season. Like he's going to get bigger, and he could really be that mediator on the wing that we've been hoping to find for a really long time now. Because it's just crazy. Like I remember seeing him because he was a year young in the Harold Matts team playing fullback. He was a year younger than everyone else, and now just to see him play first grade, it's just really good to see.
And it was really good to see him back himself with that try he scored. He identified really quickly that the two Canberra players were being a bit lazy and had their back turned and just attacked it. So for a young guy to have that self-belief just to take the ball himself and attack like that, I thought was really pleasing to see as well. And it was a great all-round game. So, yeah, not just to highlight that try he scored. I thought he was really strong.
What do you do with him next week, Declan, if Charlie Staines is available? Because I was just, I didn't know a lot about him. I knew that Kit had a brother, but I didn't know, he was a winger and he was going to debut this week. And I just, obviously your first game, sometimes you can sneak under the opposition's guard, but the size of him, I think Joel mentioned on our chat that he looked like a mini Brian Toto. Might take him a few years to get to that level. But do you think he could be a regular for the rest of the season?
I'm a little bit hesitant because we do have the Roosters next week, and historically that hasn't went well for us. But if Benji played him, then I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think I would probably put Charlie Staines back there just because he's got the experience. But yeah, definitely towards the end of the season, I'd be giving him more game time. I don't know about you guys, but it was just so good to see we finally got our set started with the outside backs in that first half. Like it kind of dumbed away a little bit in the second half, but just Adam Dury taking strong carries, Lily taking strong carries, Bulla. It was just great to see, and I think that made a huge difference. But yeah, I'd be a little bit hesitant to throw him against the Roosters next week.
Gary, Lachlan Galvin, obviously been big couple of weeks for him, been in the headlines, had a week off, came back this week. For me, he just reaffirmed that he's going to be a special player. I thought he was outstanding. I think he was 18 runs, 170 odd metres, 2 tries, try assist, a line break. What did you make of his game?
Yeah, mate, fantastic. It was back to the form we saw at the start of the year, so that was really pleasing to see. I thought he'd had, and it may have been the injury with the hand, or it may have been the outside talk around him wanting to leave, but it was really good to see him get back to that form. I thought he was dangerous. That combination with Samuel is still that's going to be strong for a number of years. As long as we keep him at the club, that's a partnership that could get us through the next 5 to 10 years with a really strong edge there working together. So I was really pleased to see the way he played today, and I was really pleased to see him to get a try. So I've had him in a full try scorer one quite a number of times, and he's been the last one I've been waiting for and missed out. But he got a couple of tries today, which was good to see.
You were home early with that one. I think he was over in the first 4 or 5 minutes. But that combination, Declan, it's looking pretty special. That Galvin and Samuel Fainu combination, like that's mouth-watering for the next, hopefully more than 2 years, hopefully 10 years.
Yeah, it's just something you can build a club around, can't you? I mean, first on Galvin, I thought that it was just really good just to get like a really good performance out of the way, because all the media speculation, like it did leave a bit of a sour taste in the fans' mouths, not necessarily because of Galvin, more because of just the media and his manager. So it was just really good to kind of get that out of the way, I thought, just to take the pressure off. And yeah, he was amazing. He just is such a naturally smart footy player, isn't he? Like just demand the ball, like go over the advantage line off when Naden made that break was sensational. And just that grubber as well for Appy's try, just to kind of fake to look back to the left-hand side, then grubber it to the middle when kind of put Rapp on it off that split second, which created the space. And then obviously a great chase from Appy, but he's just such a smart player. And then on Samuel Fainu, like he's just another one. Like he could definitely be playing Origin in the not too distant future, because he's just a complete back rower package. He's a really good worker. He's obviously really good with the ball, big, impactful. That kind of prototypical big, rangy back rower, kind of like Olakwadu for the Manly Sea Eagles. He's that for us, which is great. And he's only going to get better. And he also made such a crucial cover tackle on Nick Kotrick when we were 12 people. And, if like they'd went on to score, you don't really know what happens. But just that effort kind of epitomizes what I think Benji Marshall is trying to like install at the club. And to see that from someone so young, it's just amazing to see.
And I think the wins the last couple of weeks for Lachie Galvin, and everyone heard the discussions about him wanting to leave, but getting to play with a few of his mates who he played with through the juniors for the Magpies, and not just play with them, getting wins with them. I think that really helps you convince a young guy that you're the future of this club and you can turn this club around, which is all he's been saying the last week anyway. But when you combine that with you're playing with your young mates, we've brought them all up into first grade now, and you're starting to win games with them, I think that gives him the confidence that he can be a big part of turning this club around.
I'm sure I've asked you this before, Declan, but is there a comp with Lachie Galvin in terms of a player in the competition that he could be like? I've sort of, not so much his game, I've compared his mentality to Mitchell Moses, because he just wants the ball. He doesn't care if he's made an error or the team's losing by 30. That's what I love about a young player like that. But is there anyone he reminds you of or might remind you of in the future?
Yeah, it's difficult because he hasn't really developed into his body yet. Like he's still very like rangy. So until he kind of develops into his more of a frame, it's difficult to say. But yeah, I think Mitchell Moses, just in terms of a mentality point of view, seeing Mitchell Moses come to the 20s and then his early kind of stages in first grade, very, very similar. Someone who's not afraid to to make a mistake, someone who kind of demands the ball, someone who's kind of confidence and like a bit like willingness to back their own ability kind of goes beyond their years. I think that's probably the player comp I think the most. And they're also managed by Isaac Moses as well. So just to drill that home a little bit more.
Samuel Afinu, Gary, I wasn't getting too excited. I think I declared him a future immortal about halfway through that game. So I just think he's been, I know you think Galvin's my favourite player, but he has been, there was nothing about him in the off-season. Declan might have been talking about him, but it was all about his brother. And we might have plucked one of the signings of the season here from Manly.
Yeah, he's got a huge future, and he's at our club for the next 3 years after this year. So we've got him at our club for a long time. And, yeah, just the lines he runs. The really interesting thing is having him on that left edge is going to make players around him better. It's going to make his halves better playing inside him because they've just got such a great target to hit. But he's also going to make his centres better because once you start using him as a decoy, and we did do it a few times today, I've been waiting for us to start doing it a little bit more. Defence can't just slide off him. That they do have to wait to the very last moment and the ball's past him to move. So he has that ability to hold that sliding defence up. And I think playing outside him as a centre, he's just going to create a lot of space for you. So, yeah, it's not just going to be him that's going to be a great player. The players playing around him are just going to be able to feed off that as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting because when we were chasing Latu Finu, we just needed a half. And, we'd obviously missed out on a few key targets. And then it kind of came to Latu Finu. And then Sam Weller just kind of got added on as an extra when we signed him. Like, it wasn't like we were actively pursuing a back rower, which was really interesting to see. And yeah, he kind of got attached to the deal, which ended up brilliantly for us. And then you look at the preseason, he was giving quotes about how he was going to turn into a middle forward for us, how that's where he traded most of the offseason. And that's where he played to start the season as well. But then with, injuries and opportunity, we've kind of lucked into his best position, which is by far that left side in the back row, which is great to see. And
what's interesting for me is Sean Bloor has moved on from the club and is playing good football for the Storm. But I can kind of understand that decision to let him go now. If you saw what Sam was doing if he was doing this sort of stuff in the preseason, it gives you a little bit more confidence that you're going to be able to replace him with who has in a short number of games probably shown more already than Sean Bloor showed, despite having a lot of potential while he was at the West Tigers.
Now, Gary, my man of the match today was Adam Doueihi. So I'm wondering how you feel about this, because on one hand, I've got that meme in my mind. If you remember when Homer Simpson sort of disappeared into the bushes, I've sort of got that in my head. But, because you did criticise, you have been critical of him in the past, and so have I, around his mentality towards tackling and consistency. But you've also been adamant that he was not a six. And he is a centre. And, man, he looked like a world-class centre today. He just ran the ball hard, over 200 metres. He was more than a handful.
Yep, no one can question the mentality he played within that game today. I thought he was excellent. I was really pleased to see how well he played today. Really pleased we re-signed him last week. So I think that's a real positive. If he plays like that as a centre, then he's got that centre spot wrapped up for as long as he wants to be at our club. So he was fantastic today. I liked how hard he was hitting the holes. I liked his dirty work. He got it in there and rucked it out of our own end. He took some hit-ups. He wasn't scared of the contact, which is really amazing. You see guys come back from an ACL injury, and to get that confidence back sometimes takes them 6 to 12 months. He's coming back from his third reconstruction, and he hit the ground running today. And to be honest, when he took that intercept, I think he looked like he was faster now than he was pre-injury.
He said he's lighter, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks like he's lighter, and that may have been, he may have lost some of that weight in that attempt to fill that halfback role that he was speaking about earlier. But mate, just put your hand up, play centre. I think you can make a real go of that position, and I thought he was excellent today defensively. I saw one little bad read that he did in the game, but I thought his first contact was really good. He made the right decisions. He, two breaks down that left hand edge as well. Nice ball thrown back in for one of the tries we scored, the long range try we scored. So yeah, I couldn't ask any more of him today. And to do that second game back from a 14-month layoff with an ACL injury, big props to you. I hope you continue to do that. And if you do, you got a place in my team for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I'm very glad that Gary is finally part of the Adam Dewey Appreciation Fan Club. It's been a while. Tried to recruit you for a very long time, but it's good that you're here now. But
they got that number 6 jersey off his back, mate.
Okay.
I think he was jinxed, Declan, last year, the year before, when you kept pumping his tyres up. You've sort of backed off a little bit, and the curse has been lifted, and he looked like a new player today. Like it just like that was a stunning thing for me that Gary took the words out of my mouth. Like he looked like he hadn't missed a game. Like imagine the nerves and stuff coming back from your third knee reco. But he was out there just running the ball 100 miles, and I was just it's funny how that signing, that 1 year signing, I wonder if he sort of thinking, I should have waited a week, because you can imagine now, like his price has gone up in 1 week if he hadn't already signed.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think that's a smart piece of business by the club, because as you said, clubs are probably ringing him directly via phone number because he's his own agent now, especially with that performance at centre. And like he could sign right now for another club. But to be fair, the club obviously saw that he was coming back well from that ACL injury. On like the coming back, the psychology of coming back from a third ACL injury, that must be really fascinating, because in a way, maybe in his mind, he just didn't really have much else to lose, because he's already had these injuries, and he might as well just go out there and play with no fear, because that's what he looked like. He looked really confident. No strapping as well, which I think obviously is a good sign. And then also just the physicality. I mean, we all watched that first half. He played New South Wales Cup last week, and he was generally coming into whack blokes, which wasn't really a big part of his game before that. So just in terms of his mindset, you could tell that he's obviously approached it the right way. He's very confident.
It is one game, Gary, but do you think that someone's maybe got in his ear, or he's just reflected on his own game? Do you think he's going to be happy to be playing centre? Obviously, it helps when you're winning. I think everyone's happy to play anywhere when you're winning. But, I mean, that certainly looks like his future in the next 18 months at our club at centre.
Yeah. The only advice I could ever give him is just take that centre jersey and run with it, because I think he showed today.
Pretty good edge to be on as well with Galvin and Fainu.
Mate, and as I said earlier, the room that you're going to get with Fainu hitting those gaps, it's just going to be the perfect place to play as a centre. So hopefully he has the mindset of centres where he needs to be, because today showed that he can make a real fist of that. And I was worried. I always thought he was a centre, but my worries with him coming back from injury was he wasn't going to have the pace to be able to play at centre. But he showed today that pace won't be a problem for him playing there.
Jahream Buller, Declan, he 20 runs, 177 metres. You would know, like I was getting angry that first 10 minutes. I'm quick to jump on Jahream Buller, as Gary knows, and I was getting worked up when he made 3 errors inside the first 10 minutes.
It may have been the crankiest I've ever seen you towards him.
But what do you make of him? Because I get frustrated, because I think I wouldn't bother if it was just an average winger or fullback or something who I don't think has potentially got some talent. But I get frustrated in aspects of his game. He seems to be more errors this year. And he actually, I thought, was one of the, not few times, but I thought it was one of the games where he looked quite dangerous running the football. But still, there were some moments there where it just really, really frustrated me.
Yeah, I think that with Jahream Buller, he's one of those players that coaches just love because of the effort plays. And these are the things, they're not going to be on the highlights reel or when we watch this game back on YouTube, but he just does them every single week. And I think that if you go back and rewatch the game, this sort of stuff becomes more obvious because you're not watching it in the moment with nerves. And he just makes so many clutch defensive plays. I mean, that tackle on Hudson Young, I don't know a lot of players in the NRL that can do that. So I think my point is that he's just really reliable, and I think that you need players you can trust. And hopefully, obviously, he's not like the most skillful offensive player in terms of ball playing, but hopefully we can just develop that, because I think that he's just someone that Benji clearly trusts. And I just think that you can't really teach stuff like that, those effort plays. But I do agree, like he's not a natural ball player, and that needs to improve if we're going to climb up the ladder with him as fullback. But yeah, he just there's a lot to like about him.
Is he on the verge, Gary, of a breakout attacking game? I thought there was glimpses today. I think he got ankle tapped maybe once when he went through. He threw a couple of good offloads, which led to a line break. But then I'd argue, reliable. Declan mentioned the word reliable. Defensively, yes, I'd argue he's a little bit less reliable than he has been in the past in terms of his errors. But just on his attack, is he close to popping? Because we've seen, Galvin pop this year and Fainu pop, and Buller popped in his first 5 games last year. But I'd argue since then, attacking, he hasn't been the attacking threat he was in the first 5 or 6 games of his career.
There was a number of times today where he was very close to breaking through the line or slicing through the line, and the last man just got hold of him as he went through that gap. And I think that happened a little bit last week as well, I thought. There was just a couple of occasions where it looked like he was about to get behind the first line of defence, and the last man just got him. So hopefully that does come and he starts actually going through those breaks. The one thing I was more impressed with him today is I was quite critical of him earlier in the season on kick returns, looking to pass to his winger every time he pretty much caught the ball. I don't remember him actually passing a ball to his winger to return the ball today. So I was impressed with that. And there were a few rumours around that he may have been playing with an injury, and maybe that was why he was looking to turn the ball off to someone else to do that first hit up. So I was really pleased to see him actually returning those balls himself today.
Declan, roster spots are a hot topic at the moment. And Aidan Sezer, we've just got to find a way to keep him, don't we? Like, I know he's not lighting up the scoreboard probably with his stats in terms of try assists and stuff like that, but we've now won 4 from 10 with him, which is not remarkable, but it's close to 50%. It's 40% win rate. I just think he makes such a difference. His talk out there, you can see every time they've scored a try or conceded a try, he's the one yapping away. It's not so much Appy. He's more lead by example, but I think Cezar's been an excellent signing.
I mean, yeah, I think that Benji deserves a lot of credit for bringing Sezer, because if you look, it was Aidan Sezer v Jack Cogger as to who we should sign, and like look how Jack Cogger's going for the Knights. Like, he's not really setting the world on fire. And although we have lost a lot of games, I think Aidan Cezar's done what we thought he would, just with his chat and his communication and his leadership. He's just a veteran player, and we have so many young players, so we just need like key experience in a key position, which is in the halves. And just a shout out to that bat in the dead ball line where the Raiders made the breakdown the right hand side, and they kicked it infield, and he just came all the way from the other side of the field. I think he was competing with 3 Raiders players who were all ready to put the ball down. He just batted down. I think
you know what that is, Declan? I would describe that as just high football IQ. Now, that's not a play that some people would see coming, but particularly Luke Brooks, Gary, who, if you look at his football IQ, gee, wasn't it great watching him at halfback last night? I mean, that was the most insipid halfback performance of the season. And I don't hate Luke Brooks, but that was miserable. I know we're changing tact here, but that was a galling performance by him at halfback without DCE there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was out at a friend's birthday party.
Well, I'll tell you, Gary, I'll give you a rundown.
I missed that game.
I'll give you a rundown of the game. He put up 47 bombs straight to the right winger, all end on end.
So pretty much just turned into what he was dishing up at the West Tigers for the past 5 years. Once DCE and a few of the other guys aren't there, it's not surprising, is it? Once you have to put your weight on him to kind of run the show for you, I think that's when things start to go a little bit.
Big shout out to Steve, who I'm sure is listening tonight. Gary, we were talking about Sezer, though. Sorry for talking about Brooks for a couple of minutes, but I had to get that out
off your chest.
Is there a it's easy to say re-sign him, but is it going to work if we've got Luai coming and Sullivan's not going to leave? He's not going to leave. So, like, can you have 5 or 6 halves going into next year?
Well, he's not going to be on huge money, so signing him. Look, it comes down to whether
He might not want to stay.
Yeah, it comes down to whether he's interested in spending a fair bit of time in reserve grade and filling in first grade when needed. It depends what he wants to do with the next 12 months, possibly the last 12 months of his career. And I think that's really a decision for him to make. I don't see you being able to play him every week next year, but injuries are going to hit. If Luai's in the form this time next year that he's in now, he's going to be away on state of origin duty. So there comes that period where he can play some games. It's whether he's willing to do that second string sort of role and be that mentor for the young players that we have in that reserve grade side, I think is the key part, because I'd love to see him stay, because what he's shown this year has been a real asset to our club, and we really missed him the 4 weeks he was out. It's really nice to have him back now.
Alex Seyfarth, Declan, did he disqualify his good performance by getting sin binned and inviting the Raiders back into the game, or 16 runs, 132 metres? Is he continuing to improve?
Well, yeah, I think it was a little bit harsh. I think we see a few players kind of get caught and like with their hand in the cookie jar with playing at the ball when they're offside. So I don't think it just takes a nanosecond just to go for it. And then I thought the ref was a little bit harsh on us. It was definitely a penalty, but I don't think he was a chance of scoring. So I don't really see why he should have been in the sin bin. But these are the kind of calls you caught from time to time. But he also made a really important tackle in the first half, like just before halftime on Danny Levi, when Kaeo Weeks made that break, and he timed it just absolutely to perfection, just as he got the ball. So I think that it just kind of epitomizes the kind of effort he makes. And to Gary, I just want to ask the question, like when he got sent off, our defense went to absolute, like drowsiness. Does that mean that he just plays such an important role for us in the middle of the field when he goes off?
Last 2 weeks, he's been great. What he really impressed me with today was his ball playing. Playing that 13 role, I thought he did a really strong job. He was getting the ball wide to our halves, so I thought he was fantastic today. You're right about that cover tackle he made. I thought that Canberra was going to score in that situation, and he saved that. So fantastic game today. I'm not going to sit here and bag him out. I do think he is getting targeted by the referees.
But Gary, to be fair to you, you did say discipline was a thing last week. You harped on that, and he's ended up in the sin bin again.
Yeah, as I said on the pod on Wednesday night, I think he is being targeted by the refs at the moment.
So he's got to be smarter.
I think he does have that reputation of being a little bit of a hothead, being a guy who is ill-disciplined. That headbutt early in the season has done him no favours in that regard, in my opinion. And I actually said that I wouldn't be surprised if some point moving forward this season he gets sin binned in a situation where he probably shouldn't have done. And that played out today. I don't think in that situation he probably should have been sin binned, but I think his reputation probably caused that to happen.
Declan, I've got a feeling I know what you're going to say, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, I just feel like you're letting Gary off the pretty easily tonight, but yeah, just put it out there.
I was actually going to say, Gary, is there something in redheads hating redheads? Because the umpire...
Redheads love redheads.
The referee today was a redhead, and he sin-binned Seyfarth, and you hate Seyfarth as well. So what is going on here?
I have never said I hate him. I've said he's got areas of his game to improve on. And if he continues to improve, I think there has been less stupid penalties the last couple of weeks, and as long as that continues, then maybe one day he can change my opinion.
Well, Declan, if I was Benji Marshall, I would have, and I'm clearly not Benji Marshall, but I would have gone in that press conference today and had a crack at that referee, because that's the best time to do it, when you win. Because when you lose, the press will just say, "Oh, you lost. You're making excuses." But I thought he was poor. Like some of those, I thought that there was a try for us in the first half, and it was very similar to the one that was awarded to Danny Levi, but he said try on the field. So I just didn't think he did us any favours. And I thought the sin binning, he's just done that because, we're up 40-8. Let's try and make the game interesting.
Yeah, I think that with the try and the no tries, that's probably the video referee, because he kind of puts it to them. So I didn't particularly notice any terrible decisions. I think there was one at the very start of the game where we passed it, and then it touched the Raiders player, and then he just said play on. And I just thought to myself, we just never get those 50-50 calls, do we? And I think that's pretty consistent week to week. But I don't know, like just to have a go at the referee when we've won, I don't know. There wasn't anything outrageously bad that I think warrants to go off on them at, to be fair.
Doesn't matter, Declan. You've got to have a go at the referees. It's part of the psychology of the game. That's what the good coaches do. Even when they win, even if they win the penalty count, they'll find a reason to have a go at the referee because, like players, they're trying to get into the referee's head, Gary, for following weeks to try and get maybe a leg up.
Yeah, I guess it couldn't have hurt. I'm not someone who focuses that much on the referees, and
I do.
I know, believe me, I know. I hear about it all the time. I didn't think he was too bad today. I still find it very frustrating the way we do the bunkers' involvement in the game. I hate seeing scores go up and then come off, but that's a story for a different pod.
Yeah, I think the pleasing thing is we just completely took it out of the referee's hand today because, we had some unlucky and like almost chances in the first half, but then we just went on with it to start the second half and we just put it beyond doubt. So I think that's pleasing to see because in these close games, these referee decisions probably become more of a talking point because they do make the difference between a victory and a loss. But we just took it, the whistle out of his hands, so to speak.
Gary, were there any other honourable mentions? We've mentioned most of the guys I thought that stood out. I thought, like you said, Ruben Porter's done a good job for a guy who's very much unheralded, at least at first grade level. But the bench, like Kit, didn't get much of a go today, or Heath Mason.
No, didn't get much time on the field. I don't think we've mentioned Arpey's name at all today. I thought he was good. The try he scored was really just all effort. So, it was a pretty good all-round effort. You can't really isolate anyone who had a poor game today. Even Naden, who didn't do a lot, didn't see any really stupid plays from him, which was good to see.
Disappointing he got run down, that intercept. I mean, I knew he wasn't that quick, but that was pretty slow.
Yeah, I when he took it, I thought he would score for sure, but yeah, they wound him up pretty quick.
I mean, to be fair, Savage does have like a track background, so he's no slouch himself.
True. Declan, were there any negatives to come out of that game? Obviously, the comeback was, like you said, heart-stopping. I'm not so sure it was a Tigers switching off. I think it was more just the fact of a sin bin and the Canberra start playing a little bit of good footy.
It's hard to tell because I think we probably need to go back and look at the game and take the adrenaline and the heart palpitations away from it because we just honestly just didn't get the ball. And KO Weeks, he has a good player. I'm not sure he's a 7, but like he's got speed to burn, and they just absolutely torched us when they had the overlap. But maybe like we're just too close to it, and the fact that as soon as they scored like 1 or 2 or 3 tries, we kind of thought the worst. But in actuality, it would have taken like a miracle for them to get to how many points we had. So in terms of that, I'm not going to be too harsh on them because it does kind of take the shine off of it a little bit, but not to a great degree. In terms of like the only negative, I think that the bench middles kind of came on and were a little bit loose around the ruck and defense. I thought they were great with the ball. Obviously, Finu scored that great try with his footwork, but they did miss some makeable tackles, which I think that we scrambled really well, but probably could have cost us. But I'm probably just clutching at straws a little bit here.
Gary, hard to find negatives in a 48-24 victory. Were there any today besides a couple of little, like Declan said, loose moments?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go looking for negatives right now. We don't win enough games to sit here and...
I think Benji said that. He said when the press were asking him stuff after most wins, he's like, can you just let me enjoy this win, man?
Yeah, and look, last week, I think we got on the pod after it, and despite getting a win, it wasn't a great win. Today was a fantastic game of football, and I'm not going, all positive from me tonight.
Boys, the week ahead, we play the Roosters. We won't talk about that now, but Declan, what about the expectation now for the rest of the season? I had us locked and loaded for that wooden spoon. I thought we were absolute morals. Unfortunately, teams like us, the Gold Coast, they win by 60. We put 48 up. It's a crazy competition at the moment. So Parramatta currently in last spot, but I don't know. Like the Gold Coast, I think they're going to win more games. I think we're going to have to probably win 7 or 8 games to avoid the spoon. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's very fair. And I think South Sydney have also turned the corner as well. So they're like, you can't really see them winning the spoon either. So just in terms of just looking at the squads, I think we probably are the favourites still. But yeah, I don't know, like if we just finish the season just competing hard, making it difficult for teams, then I think we give ourselves every opportunity, not to win the spoon. And then you never know, maybe some other team can kind of just have a dumpster fire of a back end of the season and they
I've
come
got a
crashing
smoky
down.
for you, Declan. I think Canberra. They could be a team that they're very young side. They're going backwards at the moment. I know they've won 7 games, but I can just see them going on a bit of a losing run.
Yeah, because I think when it was bad for them against us, it was really bad because you look at their hookers, the rotation is pretty garbage. Rapina's, he's a good player, but he's not really a fullback in terms of that playmaking ability. And yeah, then they've obviously got 2 young, but like obviously good that Young has. I thought it was really good as well because all the kind of comparisons between Lachlan Galvin and then Ethan Strange, how Ethan Strange was somehow a better player. I always thought that was a little bit unfair because I think Galvin just has a lot more to his bow, and I think that was pretty clearly on display today.
I'd describe that as deluded. People who think Ethan Strange is a better player than Lachlan Galvin. He's stronger body, but not a better player.
Yeah, and obviously like in a more consistent team as well, so probably more opportunity to showcase his talents. But yeah, I think it's clear that Lachlan Galvin's got a lot more to his arsenal than Ethan Strange does.
Gary, I tell you who's looking like a genius at the moment. It's not you. It's not me. It's Jordan. He said we would win 3 games in a row, and he is after, he only said that 3 weeks ago.
2/3 of the way there, but he does need to get this last one. Otherwise, he's a fool like the rest of us. So we'll see if he gets the 3rd one. I think the Roosters are going to be a tough ask to get that 3rd one, but it's looking much more better than your prediction of no wins for the rest of the season. So
thank God.
I think he's in front there. And you know what? We got 4 wins this last season. We got 4 wins the season before. Hopefully there's going to be a couple more come, and I guess that's at least improvement on what we've seen for the last 2 years.
Well, that's a pass mark, isn't it? I said at the start of the year, if we could double our wins, it'd be a great year.
Steve won't be happy, though.
I know he's thinking about making the top 4 now. I know about the top 8 after we've won tonight.
Yeah, that's why he's not here. He's actually lining up for grand final tickets. Don't think he's out with his brother.
Well, I better mention him, boys, because I should have done it at the top. But Steve said his word for the game was determination, and that was in reference to Adam Dewey's performance. And Joel, his word was physicality, which it is every week.
Again, yeah. I think that's the like Joel has one of those word of the day calendars, and that's the only word that's on it.
Seems like it. He's gone. We stood up to them and we out enthused them. We sure did, Joel. So, boys, I hope you've enjoyed that tonight. I know I certainly did. I rushed home just to be on tonight because I was worried, we'd be a little bit undermanned with Declan potentially hosting.
Thank you.
You couldn't give all the limelight of a winning pod to someone else, mate.
No, because there's going to be, there might be a few more wins the way we're going, boys. But anyway, yeah. I think well done to the West Tigers tonight, and good on all those fans. I didn't make it out there today, but good on those 10,000 out at Campbelltown. They deserve to celebrate and go home happy because it's been a long time between drinks out there. Thank you for tonight, boys. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back at least. I don't know if you'll be back, Declan, on Wednesday. You're starting to string them together, though, so maybe you will be.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I'll talk to my manager.
Thanks, boys.
Thanks, boys.
The West Tigers podcast is brought to you by the West Tigers Podcast Forum. Have your say on anything to do with the West Tigers, westtigerspodcast.com.au.